If you are part of a team whose responsibility it is to build out a long term security strategy for your organization, one of the most commonly ignored critical components of an effective security strategy is making sure your employees have training that shows them how to not only recognize but prevent cyber attacks from happening within an organization. And due to the fact that there are so many tools available today on the market that reduce the human error, that does not change the fact that as security practitioners, as employees of an organization, we have to be right 100% of the time. Whereas the attackers only have to find that one weak link, that one door, that one employee who has not been properly trained and exploit that vulnerability. As a result, cybersecurity training is sometimes de emphasized because there are skeptics that believe that you must rely on the tools and not so much on the employees to build an effective program. But the reality is, there are many effective cybersecurity training tools out there, but they are still not as effective as they could be for several reasons. One of the most common reasons is that these programs are oftentimes not very engaging. They can be permissive of allowing employees to multitask during the training, which leads to low engagement and overall very poor retention of the material that is presented to them. So, in order to make sure that your training is effective within your organization, there are several creative ways and several companies that have led the way in making sure that you can add gamification into cybersecurity training. In other words, make it interactive, make it fun, make it something that is not only going to be entertaining, but it's not going to be a checkbox exercise. In fact, there are science and studies that show that when you introduce gamification into training, it has much longer term effects that are positive for an organization. Also, it is very important to personalize cybersecurity training by role, by what the employee is doing. An example of that might be you work in finance or you work in HR. So, enrolling in training that shows you how typical employees within specific departments of a company are exploited is also produced and yielded much more effective results. But lastly, what I believe is probably the most effective part of training for employees is not necessarily anything that you're going to find from a web based version, but more it's the message that is sent from the executives of the company themselves that basically empower employees to act without hesitation based off of instincts of knowing that if something just doesn't feel right, act. The statistics are startling about how much the blast radius of an attack is reduced when employees realize that they did something, they clicked on a link they shouldn't have, and they immediately contact their security team or their managed security service provider and prevent that blast radius from expanding. So when there is an attitude of, listen, it's okay, we're human beings, we make mistakes, but you need to act if something's going wrong, empowering employees to have that kind of attitude makes all the difference in the world.